Today's episode hits close to home for me, and I think many of you are going to relate to it. It's all about perfectionism. You know, that constant nagging thought that just keeps saying, you're not ready, not good enough yet, work harder, revise it just a little bit more. I know that voice. Yeah, that voice. That thing feels like it's pushing you forward, but often leaves you stuck in the mud and out of energy, feeling burnt out. I feel that way. I know what's up. I mean it sincerely when you say you could be anywhere, listening to anything, but you've chosen to spend this time with me. And for that, I'm so incredibly grateful. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jarod Lehn. I'm the owner of Socialtopia, and this is Fit for Business with Jarod Lehn, episode 64. Let's get after it. All right, let's get real for a moment again here. I'll admit it. I struggle with perfectionism, especially when it comes to like the business, and not just a little. I think it's something I constantly deal with, right? Whether I'm working on a new product, trying to build out a new service, I feel this overwhelming need to make it flawless, like most of us. For me, it leads me to endlessly obsess over every tiny detail, right? Even, when everything is ready to launch, I find myself second guessing, right? And thinking, you know, this could be better. It's really an exhausting mindset to have, I'll be honest. And if you've been there, you know what I mean. You know, this relentless pursuit of perfection hasn't just impacted my work, it's definitely steeped into my, personal life too, right? There have been moments of intense mental fatigue where I've just felt, completely stuck, like stuck into this chair. I can't move. The need to make everything perfect, leaves you feeling paralyzed, unable to move forward, if you would, metaphorically speaking. I burned myself out trying to hit an impossible, standard in my mind, if you can feel what I'm saying. And what's the worst part? It just left me feeling overwhelmed and far from, I think, the best version of me, of myself. You know, Perfectionism promises success, but more often it drags you into a cycle of self doubt and stress. This is a thing that I've started to recognize over time that this type of cycle it just ain't fucking sustainable, right? It takes time and it takes plenty of effort, right? But I've always been, learning ways over time to navigate through the waters of perfectionism. I realized that progress, is more important than perfection, right? And putting something out into this world, which is scary beyond belief, right? Imperfections and all, it often leads to more growth than holding us back, right? It's not easy, and I'm still figuring things out, right? Every step forward feels a little lighter, I guess a little clearer, you know? Progress beats perfection, and that's what I'm holding on to right now, right? Perfectionism, it often feels productive, right? It feels like dedication, like you're putting in the extra effort to make something truly exceptional. But this is my opinion. Even though it gives the illusion of progress, I think it's actually holding you back more than you would like to think, right? When perfection becomes the goal, right? Now the goal used to be to hit a target of X, but now you're trying to perfect this thing. It creates unnecessary delays, right? Maybe you're nodding your head. We've all been there. You're there today. You know, again, you hesitate to launch, share, or publish, right? Because it feels like it's never ready. This desire for perfection keeps progress stuck at the starting line. But at the same time, perfectionism can be a massive drain on your mental energy, right? The need to ensure everything is flawless leaves no room for creativity, flexibility, or even simple errors that errors can lead to be more innovation, right? So instead of progress, you find yourself stuck in a frustrating loop where every detail feels heavier and a burden than it should. Let's be real, it's fucking exhausting and it takes a toll on your motivation and your capacity to just fucking move forward, right? Perfectionism feeds self doubt, which is conflicting, right? We find ourselves overthinking every decision, questioning every move, and endlessly just thinking, wondering if something could be better. Should I rewrite this part, this content, right? What if people don't like it? We think these things. It creates this vicious cycle of second guessing instead of just building what we need, momentum and confidence. And this is the truth be told. People don't connect with perfection. They just don't. We know that. We see that. But we can't understand that when we're trying to launch a product, build a service, whatever it may be. We know this, but we can't let go of it at the same time, right? People connect with authenticity, as we all know. They see the effort, not the flaws. At least that's what we hope, right? That's what resonates, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a creator, or a professional. Being authentic and honest builds connections far more than an illusion of flawlessness ever could. So I ask you, if you've been feeling stuck or completely drained from chasing this perfectionism, you're not alone. Trust me, you're not alone. Fuck, everybody feels this way. I don't care if they want to admit it or not. Perfectionism can feel overwhelming, right? And here's the important truth. We weren't meant to do everything, and certainly not perfectly. Fuck, perfect. It's okay to release ourselves from these unrealistic standards, right? Breaking free from the perfection mindset. It takes practice, but, it's worth the effort to reclaim our energy and overall our fucking confidence. That's what we all need, confidence. One of the biggest lessons I've learned, for me, better than perfect, it's not, right? It's not easy to hit publish, send, or launch this thing when things could be tweaked or improved, right? But progress always beats progression. Sometimes simply just getting your work out there is enough to hopefully create momentum, right? Another game changer, setting realistic standards. I have the hard time. Not everything needs to be your magnum opus, right? Know when to give your full effort and when good enough, truly good, is good enough. I think it's about finding balance. I've been learning this, especially more and more with this release and this app we've been building, right? I've discovered the value of taking breaks. And now when I say taking breaks, yeah, there's people that put in the time. Well, listen, when I feel burnt out and I got no meetings coming up and I'm just working on busy work, I'm like, hey, time for me to step out, take the dog for a walk, get up, get a snack, whatever it may be, go work out, take a break. That's it. That's what it comes down to. I think, stepping away can give you clarity and perspective maybe you didn't have before. That's that feeling that being burnt out gives you. Another tip, ask for feedback early, even if you feel your work isn't quite ready. Sometimes, myself included, we hold on to imperfections that others don't even notice, right? Feedback can help us move forward without overanalyzing every detail. And this is what I'm learning. Always come back to your why. What's your why, right? Your mission. You try to serve these people, right? Your audience doesn't connect with perfection. They connect with authenticity, effort, and heart, right? That's what I got to remind myself, right? I have to constantly remind myself of these things as the urge to make everything flawless, it creeps in my brain. But showing up day after day, even imperfect, is always better than not showing up, right? Striving for perfection doesn't just impact you, it's really a ripple effect around us, right? When I find myself caught in this perfectionism spiral, it changes how I show up, not just for myself, but for my team, most importantly, my family, right? It's huge. It's draining, and that pressure is a ripple effect, and it's impossible standards, and it can't leave room for connection or support, right? So this perfectionism has a way of isolating us, including me, isolating you, right? Creating a narrow focus that blocks out everything else and everybody we care about. So I'm learning. I'm constantly trying to learn. When I allow myself to release these unattainable expectations, things start to shift, right? Suddenly, ideas flow more freely. I can collaborate more. I'm less tense. Let the weight off my shoulders. There's a sense of ease that emerges ironically. Like, that's the end result often turns out better than anything I could have accomplished. Releasing perfection doesn't mean I'm lowering my standards. In my opinion, it means I'm making room for growth and creativity. Fucking stepping away from the need to be everything to be flawless. Right? We have to get in tune with this. We are creating space to enter new opportunities, right? This is where creativity thrives, right? It thrives. We can stop trying to control every outcome, every possible thing that's going to happen. We're opening up to new ideas and meaningful relationships, hopefully more innovative solutions, right? It's really amazing how much energy gets freed up in your brain, that is, right? Because that can be draining when we're consumed by making these mistakes, right? This energy can be channeled into progress instead of wasted on self fucking doubt. That's the killer, right? So I say when we, and even myself, when I stop obsessing over perfect and give myself permission to truly just show up, not just for the work, like not just to work, but for the people, right? That's what matters most. It's a learning curve, guys. Growth doesn't come from perfection. It comes from showing up, consistently trying, failing, and learning, hopefully, along the way, right? Because that's, if we're not learning, what the fuck are we doing? And honestly, not to sound cliche, that's where the magic happens, guys. So I'm hoping today's episode resonated with you in some way, shape, or form, right? Somewhere, some way, you've experienced the weight of perfectionism. You're not alone. If you watched up until this point, you know you're not alone. The good news is, right, that mindset doesn't have to be permanent, right? You can move past it, taking small steps, right? Start with imperfections, the actions, and remind yourself that, right, the world doesn't require perfection from you, right? It simply asks that you show up and you just put the work in. That's it. So, guys, thanks for listening to episode 64 of the Fit for Business podcast with me, Jarod Lehn. Again, maybe I hope this episode offered some clarity, or just kind of like hearing somebody else talk about like how they strive for perfectionism and it's fucked with us along the way, right? Try to take the motivation towards progress, and if you found value watching this, guys, or listening, please go ahead and tap that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Also Spotify too. Your thoughts and experiences matter. I'd love to hear how this connected with you. Drop a comment below in our YouTube, or head out and find me on my Instagram or LinkedIn. Share your perspective. Would love to hear it. Until next time, guys, take care and focus on one step forward, not two steps back. Progress is always more important than perfection. See you guys next week.